Bang! My front door exploded open like a movie scene. No joke. It sounded like a battering ram, and suddenly there's three guys in what looked like knockoff HOA security uniforms stomping through my kitchen, screaming for me to freeze like I'm the next season's most wanted. My heart's going wild, hands still wrapped around my drill. I mean, what would you do if people busted into your home like you're running a meth lab in a lakeside cabin you bought with every penny you'd ever saved? That's where my story starts. And if you've ever felt violated in your own home, yeah, drop a comment because you're not alone. Let me back up a sec. My name's Adam Stone, and for 2 years all I dreamed about was this rundown cabin on Lake Harmony. It was the kind of place my old man used to talk about, a peaceful spot for family cookouts, quiet mornings, and life without car alarms or the sound of the city. I never got to bring him out here. He passed before I closed the deal. But every time I breathe in that lake air, I feel like he's somewhere close, rooting me on while I try to make this old place my own. This cabin. It was my project, my therapy, and my tribute to Dad rolled into one big, creaky, fixer-upper dream. So here I am that Saturday, coffee percolating, classic rock humming from my phone drill in hand, about to mount a new set of kitchen cabinets. Light was coming through windows that needed new frames, the smell of sawdust and lake water, everything exactly as I'd pictured it until, the battering ram moment. Two guys rush in uniforms, too new to be real, barking at me to step away from my own power tools like I'm about to unleash mayhem on some sacred HOA territory. I can barely stammer out what the hell's going on. This is my house, but they aren't listening, just pointing and posturing. Then she walks in. Laura Allen, frosty hair suit, like she was headed for a boardroom, not a lakeside dump, clipboard in hand, and a look that could freeze water. "Mr. Stone," she says, not even glancing at my deed when I try to hand it over. "You're in violation of community standards." She marches around, touching my stuff, scribbling notes, acting like she owns the place. "All of this work is unauthorized and potentially dangerous to neighboring properties," she declares like she's reading off a teleprompter only she can see. When I finally shove the deed under her nose, she waves it off. Individual property deeds don't supersede community authority where safety is concerned. I almost laughed. Then I saw the padlock she had Tyler, her nervous sidekick, slap onto my front door. She hands me a violation notice that looks so official it'd fool most folks and says, "I have 24 hours to pay. $4,000 or face property seizure. $4,000 for cabinets. In my own kitchen. If this sounds like a bad dream, believe me, living it is 100 times worse." I end up on my own porch, locked out, watching Tyler and his buddy load my tools into boxes like they're collecting evidence. Laura's got this cold little smile, supervising like a wannabe cop. And all I can think about is how every board, every brushstroke was supposed to honor my dad, and now some stranger is treating my dream like a crime scene. That night I'm in a motel room reeking of disinfectant and regret, staring at her violation notice, wondering if I'm going crazy or just a target in some bizarre HOA-themed nightmare. First thing Monday, I call Sarah Williams, my real estate agent, and as it turns out, the first person who will believe I'm not just losing my mind. She's been selling property out here forever. "Adam, there's never been an HOA in your section of Lake Harmony. Not ever." Suddenly, it's not just me. Sarah and I start digging. Laura's address, Sunset Gardens Apartments, definitely not the queen of lakeside property. Her Harmony Lake Security, not even a registered business. The uniforms probably bought online. But here's the twist. I start asking neighbors, and one by one the stories pile up. Mrs. Carter paid $200 for a water test. That never happened. George handed over $150 for a fake assessment. The couple 3 cabins down coughed up $300 for some mysterious community safety fund. Laura had pulled over $3,000 from my street alone. It wasn't just me. She'd built an entire fake HOA operation on nothing but paperwork and attitude, preying on folks who trusted forms and uniforms. When I finally meet with an attorney, he's seen it before. Fake HOA scams are getting more common, he tells me. Document everything, avoid confrontation. But be ready for a long fight. The system, it seems, believes whoever's got the best paperwork, and right now that's Laura. The real breaking point comes when Tyler, the same Tyler who padlocked my cabin, shows up at my motel door looking like he hasn't slept in a week. "She threatened my mom, man," he whispers, sliding into my room like he's in a spy movie. But I've been recording her. Everything. Turns out Laura isn't just a bully. She's in deep with some loan sharks, and my cabin is her ticket out. Tyler's got recordings, Laura plotting, threatening, spelling out the whole scam. He's scared for his family, but he can't let her keep going. Suddenly, I've got proof. With Tyler's evidence, my lawyer moves fast. Fraud investigators swoop in, and Laura's restraining order against me evaporates. Turns out Laura's been running the same scam across 3 states, always targeting places where ownership records are old and folks don't ask enough questions. Her obsession with my basement. The original 1962 survey markers are buried under my foundation. She planned to find them and use a decades-old error to claim part of my property belonged to the community, then force a sale to her front company for pennies on the dollar. All to pay off a $15,000 gambling debt and buy time from guys who'd threatened Tyler's family. As the news tightens, Laura spins out. She files restraining orders, sends phony cease and desist letters, tries to silence witnesses, even threatens Tyler outright, crossing every legal and moral line you can think of. But for once the law works. Investigators build their case. Neighbors, once too scared to speak, band together. Mrs. Carter organizes a phone tree. George documents her movements. The young couple down the road shares fraud defense tips. Tyler agrees to testify, his mom goes into protection, and I, after weeks in exile, walk back into my cabin. Every lock changed, every room rifled, but finally safe. Laura tries one last desperate escape, but federal agents are waiting. They let her call a community meeting, let her rant and unravel in front of everyone, then roll out the evidence recordings, bank records, even her own voice admitting everything. The arrest goes viral. She screams, begs for sympathy, throws out one last threat about loan sharks knowing where you live, Adam. But it's too late. The crowd, once her audience, claps as agents lead her away, and in that moment the spell is broken. Laura's story becomes a warning in news specials, real estate training, fraud prevention campaigns. My cabin. It gets featured in a magazine for its resilience, not just its new cabinets, but the way a community finally stood up for itself. Tyler starts a legit security business helping seniors avoid scams. I turn my mess into a regional bestseller and speak at workshops. Yeah, life's got irony. Federal sentencing gives Laura 12 years, no early parole, full restitution to every victim. Her family cuts ties. She's left with nothing but the consequences of a life built on fraud. Meanwhile, Lake Harmony is safer, stronger, and more united than ever. Every year we throw a barbecue in my dad's memory, raise money for property scam victims, and teach newcomers how to spot the next Laura before she even knocks. But tell me, do you think Laura's threat about loan sharks was just one last bluff, or is there still a dark chapter out there waiting? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share your stories of fighting back, and let's keep the conversation going about what justice really means when the odds are stacked against you. You never know whose dream you might help protect.